Nazinam Dade Jagane Gujidani Lama Jimonanga Jendamba Jabdado Jason Yaso Jizon Satadan Motem Bejam de another dozen Rogan Mojata Jing Javaga Anjabi Doji Jalazo de Mokata Julia number the Bala of the Ji Doji Goreguyo de Jelama Jota of Doji Jalazo the Tanazava Pajavada. Tomongim Johnson, the Sergeant Johnson, the Benjamin, the Donatoni, Million, Parachos, the Agenda Chicha, Yato, Gilazo, Simjinam Jeton, some Jeton, the Dajina, Tamba Chijan in those other so. Takam, the Dodia Pepper Catchy, then it in Romasapa Ankashi Pedre. Then Tata. Dorji Pepper Catching dinner. Casa Port, Muchimbo, Red, Muchimbo, Kangin at the knee. Also, 10 dead on Chaman, Satan Lamdi Pache, Tamje Sarasha. Then he Sanje Tamje and Telegapu, Java Rangan and Pella Tonutraba. Teles Ozon Pelladatini. She turned at the read. The Nina di Marani and up another Namli Deta, Yore, the name to Gumpana, the Purpala Gabje, going to Purpalas one, Java Chimbore, non common the Thai part. The name Java Chimbo, Yore, Lucky Ginzo, Yore. They come in that Musu Gumpa Chasa, the Nita. 이시토자가 퍼빠드버 네 드폭대 무슨 모바나 요리 다다 다다 고도디가 빠잡여 다다 드링가 퍼빠는데 되지 보탐지 빠잡더니 퍼빠디 이시토자 드폭래지 드니 다다다 빼는 거를 보셨다 왜냐면 빼나 삼김 잡아야나 공들이 들다 틀래라서 봐라 They parche tamje sevala. Parche gurnam dorje pepe daras on the Pai Yanishula Purpadrum. The region Gurumbochilla parche enjoy it was a tame balakata gang. The parche savala cho the Jepare.
I'm going to continue with teachings on Vajrakilaya today. It seems that there are some new disciples. To give an introduction of Vajrakilaya to the new disciples, I'm going to talk a little more about the use and benefit of Vajrakilaya practice. The Tantra of Vajrakilaya is very profound and very vast in meaning. And the practice is useful for this life and also very helpful in traversing the stages and path to enlightenment. Vajrakilaya is the embodiment of the activities of all Buddhas, and it belongs to the Amangasiddhi family of the 5 Buddha families. I personally have practiced Vajrakilaya. Back in Tibet in my monastery, we have the tradition of doing extensive retreat of Vajrakilaya and the 8 Herukas and so forth. Our monastery in Tibet has a special connection with the Vajrakilaya practice because the cave where the Dakini Eshe Tsogel practice Vajrakilaya is right next to the monastery. There's a picture of mine in a cave. And that cave is where the Dakini Eshe Tsogel practice Vajrakilaya. And Guru Padmasambhava also practiced Vajrakilaya to subdue obstructors in the path of Dharma in a place called Yangleshu in Nepal. So the Vajrakilaya practice is exceptionally powerful to dispel obstacles in the path.
사요 링걸 매 추어 롱데라 소바 남들다 메콜라 소바 데리긴 요게 사에 바체 자롱 난거 바체 되나 나다다 자롱 데라 소바 나바 냠슬링 거 거더니 디 바체 초도 싸움 바체 되더니 좀 사자치 못 공부했다더니 배나 디 드라마라더니 남도 드라마다 뉴모반 드라마다 되니 되게 니 보고 지마 탑는 별라들이 되게 바체 남바 숨 요래 때 탐치 강이 바더니 핀보 요래 때 탐치 님보래.
The Vajrakilaya practice is an antidote to obstacles. Mainly there are three types of obstacles. The obstacle created by nature. Nature meaning the four elements such as the earth, fire, wind, water, such as earthquake and flood and tornadoes. All these kind of mishappenings are called obstacle of the elements. And that also includes the plane crash and other major accidents. And the second kind of obstacle is connected with the practice of wind and channels and drops. And the third kind of obstacle is in the practice of Mahamudra. When a lot of discursive thoughts arise in the mind, and when they are not able to abandon with the usual antidotes, then the Vajrakilaya practice can be applied to subdue them.
가시나 답이 죽어를 쇼. 로만 뭐냐면 이제 들이 되게 가면 들이 양기 나봐 나서를 띠네 빼나. 들이 양들이 가시 라마 개비시이래 양 가반다만도. 들이 양 가시를 나산다면다. 들이 그 파체 대기니 쇼거요래. 대담지 저 강내 송들이 지와 가마 양랑게 개비시이 담게를 때다 담책 송마송 대가 대자가 좀 연구요래 옛날에 대다 탐치에는 빼고 찌이들 가르쳐서더니 바체도 무덥지 나리 손에더니 바체 냠이 가세 땅 삼라 바체 대담 연구요래 지금 바체 열려 자손더니 빼나 드리든 무덥지 모르겠네 바체도 무덥는 전도요래 빼나 어래 드리게 따와주는 다 바체 시종 강이 다 총총 대 바체 총총대랑 나가 남도 다 뉴몽바리 디와도 마셔는들이 세상 세 바체 담지 난거 바체다 세 바체 담지라 배들이 네 밤에 왔당 탐거리 조 난거 상을 또 상을 바체데 남도데 라는 더마 탐나 드니데 동도 남도 치고 송도 말아래 봐 동탐지 남도를 준 거요래 배는데다 아래 레당 바차때 말람니 바체 민잖아 다 소소지는 남도 치모도 랑길로 뭐지 접대야 뭐지 접다 주대 빼자 말람대 빼사리더니 야 지금 양격 체르로 그래 야 드니 다드니 메트글이 주말람대 빼 쪽발이 됐더니 빼 드니 그 레가 체르 빼더니 원래 바체가 내봐 땅 터봐 드니 문이 바체는 전도요래 빼는 말람대나 시에메롱소 말람 장보이나 무드비 시에메롱 말라现在我这边也着的，没让明白的呢，他妈的出到了这牙尖了，让你当用的牙尖了，没让这点个 doctor 变了嘞，他妈的中嘛呀，也咱们他们这那把了，去的马些牙尖了，刚要那把药买可能给好嘞，这里送，这到送送的出到3个8千的8千他们这当3个8千生那包吃饭的，我弄送了，这里哪个8千？ 이 세바체 담체 대차를 빼놓고 고노 특별히 빼나 드니든 초도 농제에 대해서 다 갖다 빠이 시죠 벌바서 원래 돈을 무슨 선거요리다가 사자침이 따와 안 되래 빼나 빠이 시죠 벌바되나 그거는 뭐지 바체 열려지 바체 그놈 도지 벌베 다 사자침보 초금으로 톱송들이 바체 담체 다 사진으로 가르쳐 사자침으로 톱은 거를 뭐지 빼나 뒤에다가 동사는 무릎 탐지 이제 초대 사자침 무릎도 톱잖아. 드니 랑진 탐지가 동진도 거래. 드니 드리다고 그래지.
Despite of Dharma practice for a very long time, sometimes people face obstacles. For instance, sometimes their relationship with the spiritual teacher deteriorate, and they also sometimes get a lot of sicknesses and other obstacles. These kind of obstacles are usually results of not having proper samaya with the spiritual teachers in the past. Usually in the Dhamma practice there are a lot of obstacles, and all these obstacles are actually signs of success in the practice. The better your practice is, the stronger the obstacles are. In your practice, whether you have a big obstacle or a small obstacle, you should consider that they are coming from discursive thoughts and afflicting emotions. The secret of obstacles is discursive thoughts. All these discursive thoughts appear as obstacles. Like the great yogin Milarepa has said, that demons and obstacles are nothing more than your own perverted, afflictive thoughts. When an obstacle occurs, in relation to that, if you develop a lot of suspicion, if you become very skeptical about the obstacle, then it becomes very powerful. For instance, when you see a nightmare, when you see a terrible dream, and then if you become very superstitious about that, and if you think too much about it with suspicion, then it really becomes an obstacle. If you just leave it as a dream and do not doubt about it, do not think about it too much, then it never becomes an obstacle. Usually it is said that if you have a good dream, you should not disclose that, because if you disclose that, then you lose the benefit of having that good dream. Good dreams are kind of attainments. And if you have bad dreams, again you shouldn't disclose that. Rather try to recite the mantra of Tara or Avalokiteshvara, and that way the impact of bad dreams can be eliminated. So in this way there are different kinds of obstacles: outer obstacles, inner obstacles, and secret obstacles. The antidote to all these obstacles is the kilaya of timeless awareness or self-awareness, like I explained earlier. The kilaya of timeless awareness means exactly the same as Mahamudra. Guru Rinpoche has said that by using the kilaya of timeless awareness, the realization of Mahamudra, all obstacles can be defeated, and the benefit of oneself and all sentient beings can be accomplished.
드니 다다는 주제다 왕 이 가축감 가셔야나데 아게 세주도 안다 거래데 고르지 말해. 드니 산지 동대지게 심지 탐지게 삼바다 로세라다 드니 심지 못바다 드니 라게 지지가시 해고 그래데. 드니 다 탐지 왕 가셔야 드니 가축 가셔야나 로마 탐지 나니 드니 시랍지 올래요. 왕보사와 대다 탐지게 누비다데 야래 뒤지래. 되는 대 문의진 저거요. 로마 탐지에나 대 상주 선바 망고 여래. 대 탐지게 내가 대라 그도 그거 체면. 되는 ចិត្ត도지 파파 같이 내나. 강투투게 냠선이네 대다 가고 되게 무슨 고르 제요 말에. 이나요 로마 탐지 상하 로지 너희들이 몇 바지 탐지게 되는 라고 대단 초대체 말이다. 내가 그렇게 정도 쳐먹어 되는 줄라 봐. 왕그렇게 요래. 되는 양편으로 이비인지 넣었다 그래.
So I have been teaching about Vajrakilaya, and I'm also going to confer the Vajrakilaya empowerment. Actually, the practice of Vajrakilaya is quite difficult. Lord Buddha taught Dharma in different ways to make it suitable with the different disposition and interests of sentient beings. And whenever you teach Dharma, you have to follow in the steps of the Buddha. But here, among the disciples, there are a lot of them who are really devoted to the Dharma and who are bodhisattvas with great intention. And moreover, such disciples have great devotion to the Vajrayana teachings and wish to put these teachings into practice. So, keeping these disciples in consideration, I decided to give these teachings an empowerment. Every one of you have the Vajrakilaya text. So now I'm going to give you the reading transmission of this text. So try to listen very carefully. Do not read and write. Just meditate and listen to the transmission. And after I will have finished reading, then you can read once in English to have an understanding of the text. That understanding will be beneficial for you tomorrow during the generation stage. And then when you will have read in English, I will try to explain this text, especially the points where it is difficult to understand. And I will try my best. I'm not a learned scholar, so whatever I know, I will try to explain. So occasionally you can look at the Vajrakilaya Tanka, and then you close your eyes and try to make that image reflect in your mind.
줄록 인다 당더니 제가 공부해 봐 탐지게 때는 시당거 그래서 시당 컨트롤하는 들이 되다 그래서 들이 다쳐 요래데 대 말해 되다 말해야지 전는디 너송이 동우보고 되는 다다 라초 디 진찰하던 별이 또 답바다리 가장 서사시바래 연도대 두바 삼세는 다고래 대 시와당 초원이 제발대 빼나 소속을 내당 유무와가 통철 양들이 차고 해서 저요래 빼나 강연하다 직진 감되는 것소 빼나 증소 자갑의 들람 진이 첨순이 미상보지나 대 자갑의 폴리스엔다 대라서 봐 통나 강연 현황요 말 대탐지 파마다 송접 경이는 통고요래 때 동물을 대송 좁진이래. 샘지 탐지 배나. 꼬마다 작바다 드리기 벌써 통나더니 눈이 자네 고토데. 단정랑 지내더니 별거. 정랑 못 지어요 요래데. 통출량 됐다 그래. 드니 땅디 거 소리 대 강연데 내가 낭 뉴몽 봐. 단지 뒤진게 빼나. 됐다 그래. 단지 전부 진 탐지거든요. 인 탐지 쭉 코나나 통구요래. 대마도도 좀 라 탐지 추그 셔버강에 마유장의 통행지 전부 체미 봐 이제 톡들 동대장 요와요 말에 빼놓고 추그 셔버강에 마유장 근데 롱건 암직 저도 걸 중바 하지지. 근데 고속게 되는 뉴모바로 빠따와 탐지가 락 빠져 되는 정랑길이 되니 통통걸 되니 되니 유지시 봐 탐지되나 운행 다톡시 봐 되니 요래.
Those who are non-Buddhist and those who have little experience with the Vajrayana teachings find the wrathful deities very hard to understand. The wrathful deities such as Vajrakilaya. Such people think that these deities are extremely angry and very hateful. But in reality, that is not the case. Yesterday I briefly explained how the attributes of the deities symbolize the important aspects of the Dharma. Actually, the peaceful and wrathful deities are there on the basis of how people perceive them, how people see them. Depending on the various karmas of sentient beings, these forms of deities appeared. It is like our relationship with the policeman. If you are somebody who is obedient in the discipline, in the law of your country, and if you have not broken any rule, then upon seeing the policeman, you do not have any fear, and you find them to be like protectors, and you find them peaceful and helpful. But if you are a thief, and if you have created a crime, and then if you see the policeman, then you find them to be terrifying, and you have to hide from them. So the policeman is the same all the time, but the same policemen appear in different forms for different people. So everything that is terrible, everything that is a source of bad feeling is coming from your own mind, the mind of ego fixation. When the mind is fully occupied by ego fixation, then you can only see the faults of others. You cannot see any quality. In the same way, for people with great negativity, the deities also appear very wrathful and terrifying. In essence, the minds of all the deities are permeated with the four immeasurables: the immeasurable love, compassion, equanimity, and joy. And their minds are not wavering from that at all. But in aspect, depending on the karma of sentient beings, they appear in peaceful and wrathful forms.
대는 다단 직진 되는 배나 소소소소들이 강자 핀춘 따나야 배나 드니 강자 같이 나제 침보 대목 침보 시당 침보들이구나 배나 추록 참아나 가요 말 추록 대바데 빼드는 요다래다 강리들 다 찌보지에 직진 감지 찌보지에다가 쌈노 마당나더니 시타도 가려이나 인지 닦고서 되는데 추록 탐지를 빼 당겨요 그래 배나 제 contu sir kari kore dine chulobe nani kecha sertam de kore chutam che tongba ni re de gone de ko atam chalo o shesona namchi de longma to meba bakcha ha ko yo mal nani zawari idang de ni bere chuba nyamni cheni de di chulok tamji la dangbu de chu nyamni se ni tamji la de tamji de de manjun tang me ba nyen ba da ben da de chu je mi de 다 마음이 그러라 줘더니 다처리 열에 들이 다처리 낀 탐질라 맞지 다처리 가려 된 거요 오 띠몽 토봉아 띠몽 토라 맞지 침보 열에 맨나 딜을 찌와마도 들이를 콩토 짜만이 제야 요 말에 별로 퍼봐 주니도 오니 큐를 lok다 지어도 코다는 라르션이 되니 콩토 짜만이 제야 요 말에 별나 무슨 다다 무슨 속 차가네 dom yu. The dom the corner Langalan. That coca to take the cruise or cruise or Tinga Jake, Milam Nang, Copa Zucamato. Gone, coping the boy, that calling you setting me some day or you go ninja, called Zigal call, Dubai or Zemwe or Mato. What you want to go on my crimson on a calling in the same head. They don't get Lamnani party, call Galetobook Pauna, Thermal sort up because the Jay, don't you want ninja to read here. But then so time my jetty on a quarter read. That time you think come in my jetty in some shape and a cook. We need you know, keeping my jet crogona or doubling the Sajiga case you remember. Sajiga car is on the Tuda Shation Terra, Yonti, Kate, Medi, Shiva, Terra, Taman and Tumba, Ole, Yamchong Tamjele, Guguricini, the rich child of Mado. Tuda Shation Terra, Ole. Majet in the Yondi, Meta, Yonti, Chona, Majet, Chede, such a penetra, Cherry, Titamjela, Conto Timogo Jones, Musiti, Sivagongore.
In this world, there are quite a number of people who are very proud and very ignorant and sometimes very angry. And sometimes such people tend to be very critical of religions. They don't appreciate any religion. They don't like any dharma, any teaching. And these people believe that this life is all about them and there is no rebirth and there is nothing to achieve in the future. So their vision is limited to this life. These people do not understand that the nature of the mind is empty. Yet when they die, they still have to face the consequences of the habitual patterns in the mind. These people think that those who practice are useless people, people who are not successful, people who are kind of absent-minded, who are not normal. But upon seeing these kind of people, we as Dharma practitioners shouldn't have resentment, shouldn't have anger. Rather, we should think about their ignorance, their pride, and their anger, and try to be compassionate. Pride is a very strong, afflicting emotion, and that is the biggest obstacle to attain higher qualities. Among the insects, the spider is the most egoistic. The spider kills all other small insects that it meets on the way. And it's so egoistic, so proud, that even if it meets a human being, it tries to fight with the human being. Sometimes when I see a spider, I try to push it away, and it bites the object that I use to push it away. And it is trying to retaliate even the human beings. The pride is so high. But if we really wish to kill, and it takes a little pressing with our feet, it is going to be squeezed underneath. But upon seeing the pride of the spider, I feel great compassion, because it is totally confused by the pride, and imagine attacking such a huge human being. So those who are having very strong pride should think about the Buddha. There have never been a person more intelligent, more learned than the Buddha. And the Buddha was not proud at all. He was the most humble being in the world. And the Buddha has said, the sign of having practiced Dharma, the sign of having listened to Dharma is humbleness, peacefulness, and a mind which is tamed. And the Sakya Pandita also has said, proud are those who have very little knowledge.
Nga mangbo yore, mbebe sesan di mele nga. Ini ngisi drupchin soko yore, drupchin soko nga dada loko yore. Dikani nga doji loko yore, penna. Di lama nabe, di mekpa sonna, mekpa di pene ko kangli zina, mekpa tata sam ngingiri tongde yogo mare pene ko, semi iye lo tima to. Te kangna de tabe di pene ngukpa, drava te tamche kami kariri zine. 소수 몇개 때는 내 잘고는 내 약고 말에 사람이 로짜니 종류여 말이 다른 것을 봐봐 냠들라나 강리들이 샤 이식이 진디래지 원래 주심 저 사제 탐제 방법을 해야 되래 초소가 뭐가 따지 원래 초소가 뭐가 따는 드린 직딩이 컴나더니 자로 봐 신경 상황 소는데 초소가 꼭 엄마 탐제 주지 따르지 추직광을 되게 맞추 작이요. 대마도 뭐바 매바가 뺐는데 작이요. 하다다 다요리면에 무슨 상주도 되니 제네 되나 마음벌더니 어쩌라 끼봐. 랑주 비 고사 비니 같이 뭐送리. 대 하자 내가 사파리. 무슨 때는 빼고 무슨 상게 뺐는데 되나 오, 니는 노바 땅거 독사나. 오, 니는 능이 내가 소바 지도 이나야. 내가 소바 내려면 공조서 뭐저 당 빵되네. 다 당고 저 빵되네. 공조서 뭐저 당 빵 예다 나서 저 당 빵 조조서 뭐저 당 빵되네. 대 탐지 장신이 처마지 야래. 되무스 들이 저기 요래. 추속에 대다 상관없는 거래. 소속은 딘딘지 오, 네 다처럼 내 말에 사면 싸마 주는 지게 말에. 다이다 왔던 데는 고조서 뭐 저당하고 고조서가 까가 치바 서로 땅고는 고조 랑게 빼나 땅결이 뒤때바 땅한테 가래가 땅거든 소소 뉴몽바이 효과 렘베게 왔지게 ចិត្ត랑참 랑게식 랑참 랑노 포고요래 고조가 먹게 왔지 뒤레데 방고 또때 녀도 고조 먹게 주고 그러면 녀도 먹게 마주노 망바로 고조 농이 용당 용이 발 때때다 뒤투 통도 땅 고조를 커차 총도 땅 이거 총도 딴 거요래. 맞아도 고통 앞에 능력이 요 컨트롤한 거 좋고 요래. 들이 때네. 들이 디상으로 땅. 들이 고통 능지지 그래 배나. 오, 자르신지 상황 탐지. 체매배 능지지 그래. 능지감이 들이 배나 탐나. 다 배나지 강 들거나 들 특별해야지. 되니다 그래.
At the end of the prayer, there are some mantras, and these mantras are recited in the Vajrakilaya Drupchen, or great accomplishment of Vajrakilaya. And back in Tibet, I have been the Vajra master in Vajrakilaya retreat. All those who participate in the Vajrakilaya retreat should keep their mind all the time in loving kindness and compassion, in the sense of the four immeasurables. During the recitation, during the retreat, if you think that I want to kill this particular people, then that is really misleading. If you keep that kind of thoughts in your mind, that is the incorrect way of practicing. Rather than that, you should keep your four immeasurables active and make the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha and the deities with wisdom eyes the ones who decide who is to be liberated and who is not. Make them the witness, not you. You should feel in your heart that all these wisdom beings are going to summon those guilty beings who have committed the 10 heinous crimes. And you are simply going to assist these wisdom beings in liberating these kind of hostile beings. On the other hand, if you attempt to summon these kind of beings with your own choice and try to liberate and kill them, then that kind of action can cause you to born as very unfortunate beings, such as the Ruda. Ruda means it's a kind of non-human being with extremely powerful negative energies. So therefore, in this practice, do not use your own judgment, do not use your own decisions to perform the actions. Those hostile beings with the 10 heinous crimes, who are the victim of these wrathful activities, are facing the result of their own karma. But in this practice, they are being helped so that they can purify those heavy karmas in a very short time, so that their results of the karma become lighter. So it is a process of helping them, not harming them. So therefore, throughout the practice, you need genuine compassion and not a kind of resentment. Usually, the prayer to the lineage masters has to be read in the beginning of the sadhana. In the book, the lineage prayer is in the middle.
lama juba tini lam de lamba thamchi parchi chikpare jamdo semchi ji Then it down it on and the young about it. Tamro magic on a simply thing on the left on the dark carrier. Oh, come some simply tamchi, the Dungil drogo do some loche. Then at the Lamraba sumnatinity, Sozang has sumnatinity, simply tamchi, what drogo rate. Tinani the Nitata to Nimare. To Numa Abdullah, the Nitata, Saji Tomdi, the Trapan Gurboji Pebble. Saji Tomdi, the Gurboji, Tam de Bari, Kipari, Ole. Do you mean that our Latine? The need simply you mount on a raso, Ole, pay you mount on a rapa. Then you know about Pame, Tamji gets along them, the Lamasho couple, Ole. The top minute is a hard tembatini, or a new mobile mapang rasala trot about it is a hard to put timber. There it is a show the tata. Then it's our Sahara our county identity, Lama red, Lama Goryo red. Then Lama Goryo go to county the Lama Sangye or it. Oh, Sangye Munas so Tata Sanjay Jata Muni, Lama red, Sanjay Tung Sama Lami take your red. Didn't it Lama Goryo? The Lama, the Lama till a cockroach just don't have you talk Sanjay, go to a red, talk some good young red, the good Lama, some yada, talk hano, talk some good young red. The ya, talk some good. Some good. Then it don't get some good. Took sugar, song long good. Good sugar. When it is Bella. Because some good young lady Bella. Lama theatre, you didn't jump some dosagati, Lama control, you did theatre, Tamche, red. You know, jumping from Kirana, Bellaco. Data Dorji Palano, Zokuji, Majeta, Mata, Ranga Chaki Teta, Tiani, that jumps and drawn. Then it comes some Semji Tamjetina and you read. Then Java jumped to sword, then Berdaka. Do some just Sanji, then it choke, Congress Semaga Manong, then Sanji Tang Zayo Maribella. Kapa Tang Mebala, Sanji Tang Meba Pebble red. Data Tamje, Dungeon quality, or Nanko Kang Kawaso, the theatre of the Pachi Dorji Jonah. So you bet anything for la. Do some just Haji Tamjan Namquakam Gomna, didn't it? Tangaso, Namquakam, Sanji, Sajikam, Semkin Tamji, Tap and Do use the Nilo, take our head.
Almost all kinds of Dharma practice are preceded by prayers of refuge and bodhicitta. And actually, the refuge is also preceded by bodhicitta. First, you think that you would like to benefit all sentient beings, and that thought make you take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and then generate bodhicitta through the prayers. In the bodhicitta prayer, your intention is to liberate all sentient beings in the 3,000 worlds, and the method to accomplish that wish is set forth by the Buddha in the teaching of discipline or Vinaya, in the teaching of Bodhisattvayana, and in the teaching of Vajrayana. In the degenerated time, Guru Padmasambhava appeared in this world in order to liberate sentient beings, especially through the teachings of Vajrayana. Guru Padmasambhava is the second Buddha, and in the degenerate time, sentient beings have very coarse form of afflicting emotions. Their 5 poisonous thoughts are exceptionally stronger than in the good times. And most people in the degenerated time prefer not to be monks and nuns. So in this time, in order to help such sentient beings attain enlightenment by transforming the afflicting emotions rather than giving them up, the Vajrayana teachings are taught. In the Vajrayana teachings, afflicting emotions are made to become liberated in their own place rather than you intentionally trying to dispel them. In order to apply these kind of practices, the first important thing is Lama. So therefore, in this text, in the beginning, there is the mention of the Lama. In the Vajrayana practice, the Lama is considered the embodiment of the Buddha, because it is the Lama who can teach what the Buddha taught. It is the Lama who can show what the Buddha is all about. Not only that the Lama is the embodiment of the three jewels and the three roots and the three kayas. Lama's body is the Lama, and the Lama's speech is the Idam. The Lama's mind is the Dakini, and the Lama's body is the Sangha. The Lama's speech is the Dharma. The Lama's mind is the Buddha, and the Lama's body is the Dharmakaya, and the Lama's speech is the Sambhogakaya, and the Lama's mind is the Nirmanakaya. And all these three qualities are not only in the Lama, but in you also. At the moment, all these qualities that are in you are not apparent. They are like a piece of diamond which is with stain, but it's still a diamond. And same is the nature of all sentient beings that exist in the whole samsara. So this is the kind of understanding you need in taking refuge. And to actually take refuge with the prayer, there is a visualization that there are innumerable Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions, as many as the sand particles in the Ganga. All this great number of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas appear in front of you in the space. And in the middle of all these Buddhas, there is Vajrakilaya, who is the chief of the mandala. And now you're on the ground with all these objects of refuge in the space. And you are accompanied by all sentient beings that ever exist in samsara. And you are the head of all these sentient beings in taking refuge. That's the visualization.
Thế mà đấy thì mang cái thì nhảm ní thì nếu ở thọ đâu chẳng có xem kỹ ra lấy bên là thế này thì có sống cứ bị chấp trên chế thì là cái tăng mà số lượng ai xem ghê về là do vào cũng cho chúng nó cứ bảo đấy ghê về là do gì đấy yang sợ người bắt được rằng cái xem là cái tác chế tăng là thế ba xem thế nó có mà đâu số tác chế tăng rồi đấy thế ba xem rồi đấy 당고 이시지 대바되나 오 레 좀데 로아메 봐 산지 좀데 될까데 좀데 로아메 봐지 오 좀데는 망보지래 말에 좀데 니마도 요 말에 셈기 탑제 동에 그 쪼쪼 되게 나 기반으로 나 가지는 나나 싸고 되래 이거 뭐 뭐 예래처럼 내려서 그래 데비조 강내지는 원래 인핑을 놓으래. 내가 그것도 못하죠. 인핑을 놓을기나. 대가리 무슨 호환을 잡았다가 나한테래. 차그럼다고 차도지 이제 죽고 연바 낙화다고 연바들라. 잡소 때문에 차그럼다고 차도 이제 된 거죠. 나한테래. 대시거나 인핑을 놓아서 맞기를 시기하면 사제 탑결 두기 좀 인핑을 놓고 레 좀들လှ봐 봐리 다디데 두개게 저리 인핑을 놓아서 당네 데비죠 다 동의를 조고 인핑을 놓고 서 대기 하고 저 좀들 참아하고 살래 라강디는 마음에 직 농선을 라고 참만 통그래 돼 이시지 돼 봐지 대 강라 땡이 되나 네 사지가 깔았더니 사지가 윤지래 제가 담아 대봐지 군조스면 담아 대봐 군조스면 띠네지 남대 하고 그래 너베 대봐 가래 오다 나디데 동에 예비조시네 다랑 그강 두드데 인동 쪼시네 덤나 라도 티는 종고요 대 하고네 내가 저기 산쪽 샘비 저만져 버려 라도 약고도 용도 삼는더니 인핑으로 제거요 참이 때문에 당연히 인핑을 놓게들이 지양마 초사하고 사주 선바정면 빼가 보여야 돼. 무슨 정도니 나라 팽에도 그 사주 심지 공부요래. 대다다 배는 규마가 사주 셈지. 문이 사주 셈께잖아. 쭉 라도도 셈 종제는 종교매가. 종교매가 루솔류당 더 사지 답변하기. 차 특별해 돼. 대나더니 뇌버 대바지. 셈기 탐지 로루 대바. 디 대바선데 어디서지 이게 내가 강제는 단 집에 요와 용요래지. 들이대라다 르그베 생부터 봤었는구나. 들이 나도 소와다 그요래. 대용대진네. 들이 르그 탈모자래. 게다 루하 좀 기와를 교제돼. 그 말에.
Prayer of refuge in bodhicitta is so short that there are only 4 stanzas and sometimes a little more. But this prayer becomes the root, the foundation of practice. Whether you will achieve the result of the practice or not will depend on the quality of your refuge and bodhicitta in the beginning. In the refuge prayer, usually we say that with respectful body, speech and mind, I pay homage and so forth. But in fact, in order to develop that respectfulness, you need 3 faiths in the objects of refuge. The first faith is the faith of trust. The faith of trust means that you believe from your heart that there is this law of karma, cause and effect. When we talk about the law of karma, the law of cause and effect, we don't have to be confused because it's very simple. There are only 2 different causes and 2 different results. The cause of sufferings that sentient beings suffer and the cause of happiness that sentient beings enjoy. So what is the cause of suffering of sentient beings? It's the self-cherishing attitude. Self-cherishing attitude means the ego-centeredness, the misconception of thinking that there is an I. From that fixation arise all other 84,000 afflictive emotions, and all these emotions causes different suffering. And then the cause of happiness is the genuine wish to benefit others. If the genuine wish to benefit others is there in mind, then you have all the causes of happiness for yourself and other sentient beings. In the base, there is no distinction between Buddhas and sentient beings. In the base, we are Dharmakayas, but we have become sentient beings. It's like the ocean becoming frozen. What has frozen sentient beings is the self-cherishing attitude, the ego-centeredness. Now, when you generate the intention to benefit others, when you start to be more concerned about the happiness of others, then this frozen mind can melt and become ordinary water. The intention to benefit others, help others is one antidote that can dispel all other afflicting emotions. It is like a lamp. If you lit a lamp in a dark temple, that single lamp makes everything in the temple visible. In the same way, when you have the genuine intention to benefit others, when you have this bodhicitta, then you naturally develop trust and faith in the teachings of the Buddha. And so, in this way, when you develop the trusting faith, then you think about the Buddha, and Buddha is the person who taught the law of karma, who taught these teachings. So you develop the clear faith in relation to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And then the faith number 3 is longing faith. The longing faith is developed through the understanding that self-cherishing attitude is the cause of all sufferings. And by benefiting others, by being kind to others, the self-cherishing attitude can be dispelled. And also you have the knowledge that in benefiting others, you fulfill all your wishes spontaneously, naturally. So with this kind of knowledge, when you engage in benefiting other sentient beings, that is the longing faith. You long to benefit others. In the beginning, when we generate bodhicitta, it is still based on the self. We have the tendency that if I generate bodhicitta, it will be good for me, it will be beneficial for me. That kind of bodhicitta is artificial, not the real bodhicitta. But when that artificial bodhicitta is developed deeper and deeper and becomes the real bodhicitta, when the real bodhicitta is generated, then you become a bodhisattva who is absolutely selfless. The bodhisattvas who reach at that level of selflessness and give away their limbs and body for the benefit of others, because there is nothing to hold on in their mind. There is no self at all. So therefore, when you take refuge, when you say the prayer, from your mind you have these 3 faiths. You are paying homage to the triple gem with these 3 faiths. And then from your speech you are saying the prayer. And from the body your hands are in supplication, folded hands. So your body, speech, and mind are all devoted in this process.
Then it doesn't any was a champion, say Chota Labio. Then that you did some work song that in true William some Hundos have song. Then Hundo the jump was empty the chipore. Then was a young Yamina Hundon Bumjet, and Mango de Dumbledore and Baptista Sacre. Titonda kind of the he chased the Gonjos, but Jap took on Dogam, looked to the summer. Oh, such a jump matter about the Gonjos was Jap something. 가두에는 신 태촌 춘임해봐 인이 태촌 매발 소화돼 좀 그러는 거지. 근데 춘냠린 강세롱 냠린 인 강양 못하고 짬비도 맞잖아. 드니 셈나 원래 태촌 매발 공조중가 짭턴 독상에 찾나. 드니 짬비 통원데 라래. 드니 짬도 맞더나라. 셈그라기 지지에 차례. 디 이치때 맞지네 드니 짬도 망보 쌓아나라 피운 주고 이러지. 무슨 짬비 제버도 덮고요 말이. 디드니 삼로 네체 혼도를 짱로 셈기니라 도도티니 땅 거래지. 이 다다 동무서들이 체디 잡라더니 파마다 야캅라 소바겐 됐다더니 야캅 쳔부 쳔부 됐다고 배고 아메리카 야캅 따라더니 디따고 차지 요빠 송마 요래데 이나야 남이 동해 용이 담게 라왕 메베 동해 용고 요래 되나 이제 버잡 탐지게 내가 담네 잡고요 말이 동공조 좀 잡대 강을 공조 좀 남대요 말에 사축심 남바지게 잡고요 올해 천들을 핀바다 스마 대화송 천들을 변의 사축 세우네 주 올해 남미자 상은 자라도 보요 말에 미제 잠보리 대화래 올해 사축 세우나 야 제 스마 주 사축 semde 그 셈대가 와서 그 요래 변나 Tina Tatani doing all the controls money, they penako, say controls some Sajetan getting some rate, Nanga controls on Angules, controls on Nanga Quatini, some distinct but maybe shirap the Sangirate, some Hingy going to the curate. Oh, Ranga Tibi shirap the Chudi, stinging in Madana, the English rang job there, Tata Tajin Ole. Shirab Shirabu chop to Koyore Benole. Many children job with a job you are in the Diego Lude Chiva, only Chivasi Jerevat. Lude Sharon, Chivan, Kuntuma Dungman of Nangiri Penaco, Chiva Mambo Jugo, Congress from a Chivan is Chivani Chiva Latinanga, Devatopa, Ole. Trikiva Mambo Ju Mago, Saji Topa, Kundi, Muni Tane Samotan, oh, Kunjo, Nipari Japkan do, Job Topan Dukes or Samotan. Oh, there is it. Think when they rang the chicken. There is some more time that he jumped. They jumped to take the loan up in the batchable in something you're in. They may tell something keep it lower than he jumped when he want to put your money somewhere about Tango.
In this life, we are under the protection of parents and the country. For instance, if you think about America, the country has all kinds of facilities that can help the people get rid of suffering temporarily. But the ultimate kind of refuge is triple gem. And the path as shown by the Buddha, which we call Dharma, is loving kindness and compassion, which culminates in bodhicitta. And if you have that refuge in life, then you can enjoy happiness right away in this life and all the lives to come. If one person in a family has bodhicitta, such a person can bring a lot of joy in the whole family. And the bodhicitta that has been developed becomes part of your mind, and it goes with your mind through the next lives. The Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha that we take refuge in are outer, but the inner Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is your own mindfulness, loving kindness, and compassion, and so forth. Your wisdom awareness, the mindfulness and heedfulness, that is the inner Buddha. And the practice of compassion and love, that is the Dharma. If you have these two refuge in your life, then you are absolutely protected. Through this kind of refuge, the only thing that you cannot do is that you cannot prevent death, but it can lead you to happier and happier rebirth until you achieve complete enlightenment. If you have developed faith and devotion in the triple gem, and if there's no doubt at all that they are the most perfect refuge, then even if you recite one prayer, it has tremendous result. Taking refuge in the triple gem by generating genuine loving kindness and compassion for sentient beings serves the benefit of others as well as yourself. The Buddhas of the three times have the same intention, that is to benefit sentient beings. And the whole realization, whole achievement of all these Buddhas are dedicated for the welfare of others. So you shouldn't doubt that your practice will not help all sentient beings, because your generation of bodhicitta, your dedication is not alone. When you really have it, it becomes a part of the same intention shared by all the Buddhas. It is like dropping one drop of water in the ocean. No matter how small it is, it becomes one with the ocean. So therefore, you should always keep the strong wish to liberate sentient beings from the three realms of samsara. In order to generate bodhicitta, there are the four trainings, which we call the four immeasurables. First, there is the practice of immeasurable loving kindness. If one has not practiced the meditative absorption on loving kindness, then there is no way to generate true compassion for others. The little compassion you have turns into attachment. You become compassionate to few selected people with whom you have special connection. But if you dwell in meditative absorption on loving kindness and compassion until you feel tears from your eyes, then you can start to have genuine compassion. In this practice, you have to bring all sentient beings to your mind and realize that there is no sentient being who has not been your parents. In samsara, you have taken countless births in countless eons. Therefore, you have been dependent on countless parents. And in your practice of loving kindness, all of them have to be the object. In this shrine room, there are a lot of people, and some of them are familiar to you, and some of them are new to you. You should have the same kind of feeling for all those who are all friends and who are completely new. If you can think in that way, then everyone you meet will give you the feeling that you have known that person for a long time. That is the power of loving kindness. The Buddha has said that loving kindness is brighter than the sun, and it is more precious than the sun. How is it? When you are suffering, if you sit in the sun, it is not going to free you from your suffering. The sun can only warm up your body. But when you are suffering, if somebody who loves you give you a call or say a few words, that simple statement, that simple conversation can give you a great feeling of relief from the suffering. Even such a tiny loving kindness and compassion has great power. It can actually make you feel better when you are suffering. That is why loving kindness is brighter and more precious than the sun. If the love of one person has that power, then you cannot imagine how powerful the loving kindness and compassion of the Buddha must be. Because the Buddha's loving kindness and compassion is equally felt for all sentient beings. If you think about that, and if you develop faith and devotion in that, and if you practice loving kindness and compassion again and again, then definitely you will become a very loving and very kind and compassionate person. And when there is loving kindness and compassion in your mind stream, it will be very easy for you to be patient. And through patience, you can meditate very well. Otherwise, if you only recite the refuge and bodhicitta prayer from your mouth, and then when it is to practice, when it is to apply, if you keep hitting the person who is next to you, then there is a discrepancy between what you pray and what you do. And that kind of drawback, that kind of mistake in the practice can cause you to take birth in the lower realms. Therefore, to help loving kindness and compassion to develop fully, you should also learn to rejoice in the joy and happiness of others. And in your mind, you shouldn't have any sense of partiality. You should have the loving kindness and compassion for all sentient beings equally, without any bias.
Thế chế tạo chế này ta de nam jo la na me pe gong dong ne pe na le thế du ne di ram yi sun ju pe ja ye sa su jin ji tin de yang pe na sa chu be lo yong wa ji yim chi nga ram yi sa ha ge dong so le o yim chi nga ram yi ri sam cha la ji ram ji ge ji ko ta da ja ye khang de ja chung le pe tani Jayaka and so on. Ramji Lunjatabe Jayaka Lunjatub there, so pay, Sanung the Tamje. The Jay Chimotela, the Nanku just simply Tamja, Ponka Chimji Tamje, Yere Tapares, Teta Tola, Tela, Gilta Roni Chipate, Nisan the Batopari, Yore. Nisan the Batalane, Nisan the Chadang the Gadula Sopayongore, Nisan the Batawa, your marriage, Conde Mitawa, Tingang Mitina, they told the Tona, that I yen Savara on the edge. Trinity, you want me the Tavan and the some Jijan Corpena, Rami Fujitaba, 당은 참주지 송 콜론도 공고로와 이제는 송 콜로 탐전들이 도르지니 르네 사봉 삼팅게 데리데 가리리데 유몽 탐지 이실은 저도래 빼나 나도 다다 그리 냠니들 자리케라 오 샘들랑 그 대시를 빠뜨는 데데는 대 신남 카다랑 샘니 리디레 세용아 누진지 주지 샘진 탐지 카카요 말이 되는 라운드고 누진지 자예카 주지 샘진 탐지 Slina, Titilla, Nidi Topamil, good Lodi, your marriage, Yen your marriage. The Shapare, Shapar Tata, the children in the Lapisa Maribel, that Chapkada, Yana, dinner. Tata the Tawa taste of the inability. Chap the ore. Now, Quaker chap the Chuki chap there. Then it's also several repeated chap the only theatre of my wing on a day now. Tinny thing on the nippene. 샤파 자제다 샤브자게 니바다 샤브자게 뉴모바다 샹퀸게 벨라디 시바카카레 요 말이지 뉴모바다 저라살라 도르소나 뉴모바 이실인 저소나 드니 샤파람 정거래서 샤다 샤드 치마라 살도 소타드니 사레 벨라大同就小巴的亚大你来亚大到亚大通了那把多少小巴他们去叫我参加去没到啊那地同的生活下来一可不的
In the Mahayoga Tantra teachings, the whole world is considered like a celestial mansion which is spontaneously present. The whole world is in the nature of a rainbow. The elements in the world are viewed as deities, such as the 5 consorts of the 5 Buddha families, and all sentient beings as being primordially pure by nature. That means, in this view, there is no dualism at all. There is no distinction between the deities and the obstructors. There is no distinction between samsara and nirvana. That kind of view is what is meant by the protection will. It is self-protected because there is no duality, no conception of obstructors obstructing something. When you talk about this from the point of view of practice, when you meditate and when your mind merges with the space, in that state of mind, all dualism dissolves and there is no distinction between any opposite things. That state of mind is self-liberated, self-protected. And that is the actual meaning of the protection will. Then there is confession. In this case, a confession is done with the view. Where there is space, there is mind. So the self-awareness or rigpa is all-pervasive. It is equal to the space. In this context of the self-awareness, there is no transgression to confess and no person who is confessing any transgression. All dualistic elaborations are invalid in this state. Just being in the nature of self-awareness is the confession in this state. Being in that state makes all these transgressions, all these non-virtues self-confessed, self-liberated. They become transformed into timeless awareness. That is also the view of Mahamudra. It is said in the scriptures that all phenomena is absolutely pure, and when they are seen purely as they are, one is absolutely liberated.
The Langan Yamida Jana, this Shapa de Pena, Dere, Tata Shaji, Numubari, Maripari, Maripana, zungzi 차당 제거를 되는 랑 제시를 빠는 빼는 뉴무 뭐지 차로나 뉴무 뭐지 제시게 행동을 식성탈다 샤주가 뉴무 바다 샹킹이 니보니 각한 메와 차데 오 동부 대리디 뭐 뉴무 뭐 식성을 되니까 샤주 얼마 샤주 샹킹이 이보 샹킹을 봐 셈리 샤주 뉴무 봐 셈니 동바래 빼라 오래더니 다음 초시 왔다는 저들라 드니 자다 잡는 시마 카카요 말해 따방은 되지 따왔더니 빼라 랑게 뉴무베 식마송나 되래 드니 카카요 말해서 대라 내 마탐는 온장 말해 정도 처시나데 온장 말해 밤에 보방을 효송나 밤에 보방은 이모랑 시바 효송나 드니 라종들 벌써 촌남나데 양 라그르 뻥고 라탑게 라그르 뻥고 자래 어디들라 양 검자네 베래 양 라그르 뻥고 자래 디 샤고래 라종들 벌써 촌남나 샤서 온장 말이야 인들은들이 변노로 보고 공로 배제와 이 이는 낭도 되잖아 파츠들이 시탑게 파츠를 납가게 되어서 해 오래 지금 이렇게 오나 당내 매나 당내 빼나 그러다 한 보자 라기 시도 시켜 오래 되게 힘으로 사진 주든단 말에 가서 로소랑 거 되려나 되게 뒤전에 샤바디 아사디 저걸만 봐 따ವಂ은 요주대 따와 샤바디 샤바도 치보리 드린 유무바 탐지란 게 진실을 박았어요. 손에 매서 샤바데리 뒤동다送거 요사래.
In the text, you can read the confession. In the primordially pure natural expanse, the characteristics of confession and what is to be confessed are liberated in their own place. What you usually confess are your afflicting emotions. Afflicting emotions always arise from ignorance, and ignorance creates the conceptions of subject and object. And from the conceptions of subject and object arise attachment and aversion. But in the state of primordially pure natural expanse, in the state of self-awareness, there is no distinction between mindfulness and afflicting emotion. Being in that state amounts to having met all confessions. But if one cannot dwell in that state, then the next stanza says, however, all errors of ignorant duality are confessed to all the self-originating manifestations of gathered deities. So if one can not dwell in the self-awareness with natural mindfulness, then one can confess all these wrongdoings, all these afflicting emotions in front of the manifestation of the gathered deities. In order to have clearer understanding of all these teachings, you can refer to commentary written by, I don't think Peno Rinpoche, but Changyen Trugo, Yangtang Trugo. Peno Rinpoche Remendu, Peno Rinpoche Drebar Remendu, Yangtang Trugo Drebar.
Oh, Drebar Jibari, Susong Jibari, Tedi Song Juremedi.
Whoever the author of the commentary is, you should try to refer to that commentary for more understanding. I'm trying to explain these teachings as much as I can, and it's possible that I'm wrong at many points. So if you find any error in my teachings, you can come up to me and complain, and we can correct. One very important thing to know here is the way to confess from the view, with the view. Confessing wrongdoings with the view means that if you are constantly in mindfulness, then all afflicting emotions that touch that mindfulness become self-confessed.
Dune Ramzong Namda Dirty Choso, Tani Ramzong number Tabi Dirty Dinner, Tadi, see Dirty Nang the Mango Yere, do Zeshiba de Tada, New Mumpango, Nisan the Tanking isn't the Don't Tamjera, Nidi meets New Mupa do Davetella. Then you get that up, you should get that, oh, Nidi you talk about me, Bella. The Nidi talk me like Joanna, Tatango. 착바다 힘바유베 서로 요정을 뽑는 내용으로 쭉 탑이라 착바다 힘바이열에 니서 좀 따와라这个 차도 당겨요래 니들 이제 따와 미천에 빼는더니 탐지에 답을 예래변라 돈을더니 따도 있어 말해 봤더니 너 다마다 있어 말해 봐더니 다다란 거 평감 깨필라 듣적거려래 드니 세 누구 능력에 빼놓고 듣적다 사탑게 교법 같은 것을 제비는 데다 용화 강마들이 자와는가 야비용급 빼나 사천 매롱다 데르티니 되게 많이 요구요래 ram종고 듣적함나 내대래 드니 랑 평감 깨필라 듣적 내대래 대사 이제 랑의 송 눈에 ram종 남다 듣진 초스 올래 듣적 내대래 드니 락다 되네 드니 유독 영서다 마치 보소다 드니 로알 둑데 뉴무마 둑데 경거래 드니 다다 뉴무바 탐제 빼나 가자 드라브가라 어때 드라브처 어더니 다다 락다 되네 빼는데 심기 탐용 고발이 착바치 뭐래 착바치 뭐보데 빼나 뭐를 차야네 드니 락다지 네 뒤천더니 락대 추고지 되래 어래 고발이 착바매베 착바 탐제 드니 이 시계 라를 이 손에 나네 빼라 뭐 손라 나 유몽 받았다고 따와기 시계요네 빼나 올래 대선을 락다 유독 영서도 마치 보소 유몽 쪽 달자가 딩올들이 락다레스.
Then in the blessing of offerings talks about originally self-arising, perfectly pure, supreme Amrita. There are many different kinds of Amrita or nectar, but actually the nectar of essence is natural. It arises from the true nature of our body, true nature of phenomena. Nectar is called dutsi in Tibetan. Dut means actually kind of demon, and in this case demon means the conception of dualism, duality. From duality arise all afflicting emotions. So that is the target of the nectar. And tzi means the kind of remedy, the antidote. The antidote to duality is non-duality. Non-duality means not to have the conception of subject and object being two different things. If your mind is completely free from dualism, then there is no attachment and aversion in relation to the sense objects. Therefore, everything becomes pure. That's how the nectar or amrita purifies everything. The skandhas and the dhatus and anatayas, the skandhas means the aggregates, the sense objects, sense faculties, sense consciousness. All these become a kind of nectar when they are free from these dualistic conceptions. In the state of non-duality, all phenomena appear in the form of the five Buddha families, form of natural purity. And the same kind of reality is about our body, which is made of the skandhas and senses. And then it talks about rakta essence of the 6 realms liberated into the sphere of truth. There are 6 realms in samsara, and each realm has its own suffering. All these different realms and sufferings are caused by 6 different afflictive emotions. And all these afflictive emotions actually arise from attachment. And the rakta is red in color. And rakta symbolizes the attachment of all sentient beings, which is the root of all other afflicting emotions. And this rakta is being offered to the deities who possess the timeless awareness, and they drink it up, and that symbolizes the complete illumination of the afflicting emotions of all sentient beings. This way of looking at afflicting emotions and nectar is from the view. So in short, the rakta essentially represents the state which is state of mind which is completely free from these 6 afflicting emotions.
say rap tam che no che to ma gom te ri che pe la en je te ri ding wo kang le de la mo su ding ding de ban ze ba pe la ko no chu tham ye le de ban ze ba ha le to mo go ram ye to ma Shedangarabi, Dirtsan, Dochagarabi, Rakta, Dochaka, Tamok something, around unity, Nuji Jutin, the Juju Sapiens of the Chart, the Gatamchi, Nuporchi Batambi, Nupor Zaba, or Numonte Tamchi, Tapa Dirter, Singular, Rinjum, me parking, comes some Sapiens of the Gula, Numontos, me par young Numonton, some Donzilla, Tata, and Chupa Janet, Tata, taken Berkuyore. The Bertap parents are so. Bella Slar Chupa Kari, Palang Superior Metal, Palangaso Zoli Chapa Meva, or the Nigga Himba Meva, the Niggaton would have top worry. That they pay on that mambo yere, on that mamma, then more put them piano, the Nide. These are the Nancy Jirgin Mahamba Linda, so then don't run this year. No Jinjuti, Torjong, the Juju seems to Tormar Young Song Bella. Sometimes you think the Torjong Tower is a not you just send me on the Tormata as a chair. You just send me on the Tormata of Carriage. You just send me some chicken. Zopong the Dading is zero. Dading is your mother, Tibok is your penna. So Tibok is yet and the penna cook. Daddy Pumba, the Daddy, the Travel Cheddar, Penacata, Drava Chenati, now she the Chudians of Panatri. Pumbo the Trojan color, Dong the Chupa Sugar, they don't have to party Chupatini, taking a gun, Tarta, Medapana, Dadi me gory, Tata, the Tommy Chupa, and Nazi Jirgin, the now Sapadilla, no Jinjutin, the Judas simply knew Repena, or then I get to Nazi Jirgin Mahabalita, Dinata, take all Lavadua, no Jinjutin, Torjon, the Judas simply Tomar Young, they have just single or Dandin may be shed that the need. Nazi Jirgin Mahambaling that they require child.
In the sadhana practice, on the altar we arrange the nectar and the rakta or blood symbolized by something red and the torma. These are symbolic offerings, and you can visualize these tormas and rakta and amritas being gigantic, like a huge mountain. And these tormas and this rakta and amrita represents all phenomena of appearance and phenomena which has mind, means sentient beings. In essence, the torma symbolize the ignorance of all sentient beings. The nectar symbolize the anger of all sentient beings. And the rakta symbolize the attachment of all sentient beings. So in this practice, you recognize that, and you know that attachment, anger, and ignorance are the causes of all sufferings experienced by sentient beings in the three realms of samsara. And the only way to dispel these three poisonous thoughts is by cutting through the fixation on them as being real, as being true. In order to free all sentient beings from these three poisonous thoughts, in the practice you offer them with symbols to the deities. This is a very brief description of these offerings. And there are a lot of meaning to these offerings. Making offering is a direct antidote to desire and craving. If you offer one flower to an enlightened being, your mind becomes free from attachment and craving, equal to that amount. And in the text it says, great torma, the arising of the base of phenomenal existence. In Tibetan, it is talking about nang si. Nang means what appears to us, the world. Sit means sentient beings. So, in order to help all sentient beings cut through their ego fixation, here you visualize the whole world as a container of offering, and all sentient beings living in the world as actual offering. What has made sentient beings a sentient being? What have made them get this form as an ordinary sentient being? It's their ego fixation, the invalid notion that there is a self. And this notion is based on ignorance of not knowing the reality as it is. So this kind of making offering is very similar to the activity of liberating or killing. In the activity of killing beings with very heavy karma, very heavy afflicting emotion, what actually happens is that the consciousness of the victim gets transferred to higher states of birth or into Pure Lands, and the body of the victim is used as offering. This practice is also a skillful way to help sentient being cut through ego fixation. And then there are the mandala offering that is also for the same purpose.